For this I Read It, we're going to use Chapter 3, Learning to Draw the Basics. Now, some of these topics we've already covered, but it doesn't hurt to review them. So let's begin. When you see things that interest you, looking at them carefully will help you to eventually draw them. There are specific skills that artists learn to transfer their visions onto paper. Some are easy to learn, but others take more practice. The key to successful drawing is allowing yourself to make mistakes. Attempt new media and skills and learn from them. Sometimes you may feel that what you have drawn is less than perfect. That's all right. Even professionals experience that feeling at various times in their artistic lives. Of course, there are also the times when you recognize that you have learned or mastered something new or your drawing has turned out just right. So, something that I think is a neat way to think about this is if you draw something perfectly and you're drawing it all the time, then it's probably time to start drawing something else. Again, we're always trying to grow. As much as drawing can tell us about what we do see, know, and understand, it also provides useful feedback about what we have not fully observed, learned, or understood. It is an opportunity for you to grow as an artist by looking, learning, and continuing to practice. Like all skills, drawing demands practice to achieve fluency and expertise. Even professionals keep practicing. So I've often talked to you guys about things like video games and how the very first time you may have played a video game, it's very difficult to use your hands on the controller and look at the screen. Now, some of you are sitting there thinking, I've never had that problem. But the very first time that you played, like a first-person video game, you would have definitely had those problems of moving the camera and things. And you trained your brain to have eye-hand coordination. So as your eyes moved, your hands are able to move. And drawing's the same way. And you spend hours playing video games. So just consider if you spend even a fraction of the time learning how to draw. And again, most of you already know how to move your hands in a motion that would draw whatever you want. The problem is you just don't know how to convey what you're seeing onto paper, which again is not necessarily drawing, but the ability to see and draw the angle that you want to place down to make it look realistic. In this chapter, you will explore basic shapes and composition in drawing, and you'll learn to use contour line. With observation and practice, you will begin to create the kind of drawing you are trying to achieve. And over here, this is a Lichtenstein. I love Roy Lichtenstein's work. He was a college professor actually at Ohio State for a while. And if you're ever at the airport in Columbus, you can actually see one of his brushstroke sculptures. It's the really large sculpture that's right there by the escalators when you first come in. Observational drawing. When you draw what you see, it is called observational drawing. Artists who draw from their imaginations usually have strong observational drawing skills. Their work with observation lets them imagine and create fantastic visions. When drawing from memory, you are recalling observations made in the past. Drawing from direct observation tends to be more realistic and to include a higher level of detail. Not surprisingly, drawings made from direct observation tend to be more successful than those that are made from memory. And again, that's because your memory is filled with symbols. And when you try to draw something, your brain reverts to those symbols. So if we can keep ourselves drawing realistically by looking at what we draw, we're going to break those molds. And that's really the goal in drawing, is to draw what we see, not what we think we see. What we think we see is actually the enemy, okay? Symbols are the enemy. Line drawing. Let's see. Contour line drawing is another kind of line drawing. It is done slowly, with smooth, even, continuous-looking lines. In many contour drawings, even if the artist picked up the pen or pencil, you cannot see the breaks. Contour drawing forces the artist to slow down and observe the subject very, very carefully. A contour line may be consistent in value, all the lines being the same line weight, so that's thick, thin, like the boldness, or weighted, where some of the lines or part of the lines are darker to indicate shading, so it gives it a sense of depth. Contour is not outline drawing. Unlike outlines, which merely define a shape, contour drawings describe the interior and exterior linear qualities of a subject. And again, linear, if we look at the root of the word, is just line. So contour is when we have done our drawings in the past. Some of you have done hand drawings. We draw our hands. And again, when we look at the hand, a lot of times that's the hardest thing for you to draw because you guys have that, outline of a hand or like the turkey when you're a kid. But really, if you look closely at the hand, we have all these bumps and folds of the skin. Basic shapes. 3 basic geometric shapes, the circle, the triangle, and the rectangle, are the foundation of drawing. And we have stressed this over and over in class. You can train your eyes to be more observant by practicing. Look around you and try to recognize the basic shapes of the things you see. Often, when artists draw the basic shapes, they draw very lightly. So again, if we use our H, like a 2H pencil or a 4H, when the drawing is finished, the viewer may not even see those first marks. So again, we don't even often have to erase our basic shapes if we learn to draw them light enough. Organizing a composition. Before you begin drawing on a surface plane, plan how you will compose space on the page or the picture plane. Planing the picture plane for your drawing is often done in your sketchbook with thumbnail sketches using small frames. So a thumbnail sketch is just a small, quick sketch to, like a layout. This planning helps artists work out both what they want to say with their drawings and how they want it to be understood. The principles of casual perspective, which refers to the ways we understand the relationship of things in space, allow us to explore issues in drawing objects that are in the distance. The 3 principles of casual perspective are size, overlapping, and placement on the page. These are used to give the impression of spatial depth or recession in a drawing. So that means going away from us, creating the illusion of depth on a 2-dimensional surface. Size. Our brains constantly compare the sizes of things to tell us about what is near and what is far. We understand large objects as being close to us and small ones as being far away. We compare middle-sized things to the largest and smallest to determine where they are in relationship to us. So typically, if we look at these 2 book bags, we know one is drawn smaller, but our brain would tell us that this one could just be further away and this could be closer. Overlapping. When one object in a drawing covers part of another or overlaps, we understand that the first or whole one is closer to us, so it's in front of the other. This is an excellent way to give the illusion of depth in a drawing. If you want to show accurate observation in your drawing, be sure that the overlapped objects are drawn correctly. That is, as if the viewer were able to see the whole thing. You can even use tracing paper to check yourself. So again, overlapping just means one in front of the other. Placement. We understand the bottom of the page, the picture plane, as being close to us, and the top as being further away. So objects, even those of the same size, placed higher in the picture, appear to be further away than those placed lower in the picture. And this just happens because of our lives. When we see something like an airplane, it looks like it's up in the air. It's up in the picture plane of our mind. And again, we have size also as well as placement. So the plane looks small and way up in the air. But we can do something called forced perspective, which we'll look at. Forced perspective is taking a lot of these things and manipulating them to kind of trick our brain. So we could make something small, but have it close to us. And our brain would think that it's actually further away than something that's larger, even though that may not be the case.